There it is. Yes, if you have any questions throughout this Q&A session, please feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourselves, or just ask the question in the chat box. We want this to be as interactive as possible. I'll now turn it over to Carol for the first scenario.
Good morning, I'm Gerald Sidnor, and your compliance scenario is: a few days before your scheduled monitoring visit, your team reviews the internal files and realizes the local grievance form for the office is outdated. It hasn't been updated to reflect the current contact information for the equal opportunity officer. You are debating whether to say something before the monitor arrives. What should you do? A, say nothing and hope the monitor do not notice. B, remove the outdated version and replace it silently. C, notify the monitoring team ahead of the visit and explain your plan to correct it. D, wait until the monitor mentions it and correct it on the spot. Which would you choose? That is correct. The answer is C. Next slide.
Hi, I'm going to read the program scenario. Your local area has 6 months before the next annual monitoring visit. Staff workloads are heavy, and you notice several participant files are missing updated credentials and follow-up case notes. The next quarter's reports are also due soon. What is the best approach? A, prioritize the quarterly reports now and worry about the files updated closer to monitoring. B, assign updates to one staff member to complete right before monitoring so nothing is missed. C, work file updates into weekly tasks so credentials and follow-ups are current year-round. D, hold off on updates until you know which files will be pulled for monitoring. I'm seeing a lot of C's in the chat box. And I know a lot of you before, we used to give you the files ahead of time. Since we no longer do that, I think you would have probably picked answer D. But the correct answer is C. We're going to work the files updates into weekly tasks so credentials and follow-ups are current year-round. That keeps documentation accurate, reduces stress before monitoring, and prevents finding for missing or outdated information. Now I'll turn it over to Janet.
Hi. Okay, so finance scenario. A local area is preparing to pay a training provider for an approved participant. The invoice has been received, but payment has not yet been processed. The finance team wants to request the federal funds now, so they'll be available when the check is cut later in the week. They're unsure of the time and alignments with federal cash management rules under 2 CFR 200.305. What should the finance team do? A, draw down the funds now to have them ready in advance. B, wait until the cost has been incurred and then request the funds. C, draw the funds now and hold them until payments clear. Or D, draw down funds anytime as long as the expenditure is documented later. Okay. Looks like we have some B's. Okay. So the correct answer is B. Wait until the cost has been incurred and then request the funds. Great job, guys.
Does anyone have any questions for the program's compliance or the finance team? This is the time to ask any lingering questions that you may have. Concerns.
Didn't see any in the chat box, but does anybody have any questions about anything that we covered in the training? If you don't have any now and you decide that later you do, all our contact information was in the training, and we are going to provide the training for you after the fact. So now is the time, or forever hold your peace.
Ms. Carol, you may unmute yourself.
This is actually a question from Brett Lacey, but the question is, and I'm not sure if your Dropbox that Gerald had talked about earlier, if it covered it. But what Brett's question was related to, is there a Dropbox that stores our documents that don't change from year to year? And the idea would be that this would reduce the burden in the data request before your monitoring visit. And the example that he gives is mostly it's financial policies, fiscal policies that are managed by the fiscal agent and don't change from year to year.
Yes, we do store all those files. And Brett, so if you request us to move them over to the next PY, we will move them for you, absolutely. But we do store them.
Okay, so y'all can do the moving over instead of us having to do a re-upload.
If you send me a request, I will absolutely move it. Yes.
Okay, all right. I'll make sure that Brett gets that message.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Questions? Before we conclude this meeting, I wanted to present the STAR team. Gerald, Jaleesa, and Janet, thank you for a wonderful presentation. And does any of you have any last words before I go to the last slide?
No, I just want to also thank everybody for attending. I hope you learned something. We had a great time doing it for you. Again, if you have any questions that you can think of after the fact, our information is here on the screen. You can always email us. And we appreciate you taking the time out your day to come. Thank you. Bye. Oh, well, next slide.
Just a reminder, we always are looking to improve. After this meeting, you'll be emailed a link to a short survey. We will also be sending the training materials within a week and any other resources we mentioned. And with that, thank you all for attending today's training, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. If you have any questions, you can email the programs team, We Are Programs, or any of the compliance or finance representatives. You all.
Thank you so much, everyone.